Hey, welcome to a game called The Chilling Urban Legends, and I'm excited to try it out. I don't know what this is. English! Thank you. There's no options. Okay, we have stage 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. How many stages we got? Wow, 60 stages. Starting on stage 1, Monkey Dream. By the way, timestamps in the description below. I found myself inside a dimly lit train. Outside was pitch black, and I had no idea where it was headed. There was also a faint new stench in the air. What is the source of that smell? It could be the meat. Why is there ground meat in a place like this? And there's even a meat grinder. This is a scene that couldn't exist in the real world. I must be dreaming. Suddenly a piercing scream rang out. I looked toward the sound and saw a woman pressing her hand to her face and looking down. She seemed to be whispering, "It hurts. Give it back." What was taken from her? Let's examine her. Okay. Oh, I think I might understand. All right. So it picks you up where you just left off. It hurts, give it back. What was taken from her? Oh no, it's her eye? Ew. Oh, they blurred that out. An eyeball had fallen at the woman's feet. Could it be that her eye was gouged out? From him? I feel like someone is watching me. Who is staring at me? Well, it has to be him. A monkey with a hideous face was watching me intently. Could it be the conductor of this train? In the monkey's hand was a blade dripping red with blood. This place is dangerous. I have to get out of here. An announcement echoed through the train. Next stop. Ground meat, ground meat. I looked around. There was no one else but me. If I get caught, the one who becomes the ground meat is... If I'm caught, I'll end up as part of that minced pile. That monkey is chasing me from behind, laughing. I desperately kept telling myself, wake up from this dream. At my girlfriend's request, I came with a friend to help clear out a barn being demolished. In the middle of work, she looked at something and said, "Is this a puzzle?" What was it? The puzzle cube? A strange wooden box made from marquetry. It appeared to be a puzzle box. It didn't look like it could be easily opened. Suddenly I heard a shout, "Get away from that box immediately!" Who was it? An old man, face flushed red, was glaring at us. He appeared to be the neighbor living next to my girlfriend's family. His fury was unmistakable. He was overcome with terror the moment they saw the box. My friend fainted from fear. He is the heir to a shrine, so he apparently recognized immediately that the box was dangerous. The box is a type of curse called Kotoribako. It supposedly brings misfortune to women and children who come near it. That means the one who would be its victim is... well, her, because she's holding it. She's the one who qualifies. She was quickly taken to my friend's shrine for a purification ritual. According to my friend's father, the head priest, if they had arrived any later, she would have died. My friend and I came to a rural inn to work a part-time job. On the first day, the landlady told us, "Do not go near the second floor. But my curious friend's eyes sparkling declared there must be treasure up there and, I think, snuck upstairs during break. A short while later, I heard something like a liquid splashing all over the floor. What was that sound? Can I focus on this? Alright. My friend had vomited. Ew, that's what that is? On top of already being told not to go near the second floor, having made a mess on the floor would definitely get us scolded if it was discovered. I went up to the second floor to warn my friend. That's when I guess, smelt an overwhelming stench. Could it be that my friend didn't suddenly feel sick on their own? They ate that? I'm sorry, it's just really hard to see that writing. Mountains of leftover food were piled up. Almost all of it was rotting and the stench was terrible. Come to think of it, I had only ever seen the innkeeper bring food up to the second floor, but back then it wasn't rotten. So this has been left to sit here for days? Is there something dangerous hidden in this room? No normal inn should have something like this. I would assume all the talismans? How unsettling. Just as I was about to take my friend back downstairs, I heard a scratching noise coming from the talisman-covered room, along with a regular wheezing sound. I grabbed my dazed friend's hand and tried to go downstairs. Then I heard a shout. You two, what do you think you're doing up there? Where did that voice come from? The voice belonged to the inn's master. He saw us and his face hardened. Then he said, "If you leave now, you'll die." Immediately after, he loaded us both into his pickup truck and drove us to a certain monk. Apparently, we were to spend a night in a hut called an ondo to have whatever was clinging to us driven out. After all, something dangerous really was in that room. Will we be able to return home safely? Private tutor. I was asked to work as a private tutor, but I don't see how this could be productive. Who am I supposed to be teaching? The mannequin? A handmade doll dressed in children's clothes. Its face was just a blank piece of cloth with 3 black circles. The woman introduced this doll to me as my son, Ken. If I could, I'd walk out without going along with this farce. But right now, that's impossible. Who is keeping me from leaving? The woman who hired me is watching me constantly. When I said, "You want me to teach a doll?" she screamed at me with terrifying fury. That reminds me of that one movie, The Boy. I was determined to get through this job as quietly as possible, but despite my best efforts, the woman has no intention of letting me leave. What was she proposing to me? She practically ordered me, "You'll stay the night." If I refused, she'll fly into another fit of rage. I'll pretend to agree and slip out when she's not looking. I hear the faint sound of a small child laughing. Could there be another child in this room? Kind of. In a room stuffed with plush toys, a deformed boy was shrieking, "Kaya Kaya! Kaya Kaya!" His head was abnormally large, and his eyes looked like they were about to pop out. Terrified, I fled the house. That had to be the real Ken. The woman had discovered her son was born deformed, and her mind had broken. She escaped reality by convincing herself the doll was her son. Real. Just for fun, I tied a certain ritual I'd heard about from a friend who's into the occult. Could something really happen from doing a ritual like this? This is what I did. I can't go into detail, but the ritual apparently involves doing something and looking to the right. It was said that a being from another world would appear. The something is a posture like a slight bow. What I'm doing right now. I was thinking this can't actually do anything, but then the atmosphere in the room changed. Is there someone else in here? Yeah, she's right behind you. A figure dressed in white, swaying finely from side to side. From beneath its curtain-like black hair, its face was completely covered with paper talismans. What on earth is this thing? A terrible smell began to fill the room. What is the source of this stench? This? Something resembling foul-smelling sludge was seeping across the floor. Did that thing produce this? I noticed that part of my body feels hot and stinging. Where is the pain coming from? It's on the back of his neck. A red mark, as if a rope had been wrapped around the base of my neck, had appeared, with a fine rash raised along it. Terrified, I fled my apartment and ran to my parents' house. My parents, sensing something was wrong, called a well-known temple priest, who agreed to perform a purification. But the earliest available appointment was 3 weeks away. I don't know what exactly I summoned with that ritual, but I know it's trying to curse me to death. Will I still be alive in 3 weeks when the purification takes place? Hashikurasama. Probably butchering all these names. On my way to my grandparents' place in the countryside, I saw a woman who must have been around 2 meters tall. So I think 2 meters is like 6 foot tall. As we passed each other, I heard a strange po-po-po sound that stuck with me. So I mentioned it to my grandfather. He turned pale and rushed me up to the 2nd floor. If something happens, pray to this, he said. What is this thing to pray to? The statue. Atop a wooden box-shaped stand sat a small Buddhist statue, and without any explanation, I was also handed a paper talisman. What is going on? Have I done something wrong? My grandfather apparently had no intention of letting me leave this room. This makes that clear. No normal person keeps a chamber pot in a room. I suppose this means I should relieve myself here. Oh, that's what that is? It's a poo-poo pot. It's like a little swan. Or no, I don't know. It's about to become a black swan. My grandfather told me never to open the door or windows. Would anyone actually try to open something with that on it? The gaps were sealed with newspaper, and then paper talismans had been pasted over them. Seeing how thoroughly both windows and doors had been sealed, I understood something not of this world has set its sights on me. Yeah, the thing at the window. The supernatural entity after me is apparently called Hashikurasama. It stands over 2 meters tall, wears a white dress, and makes a distinctive po-po-po sound. As I heard this, I realized something. This is the 2nd floor, right? Oh. Through a window that hadn't been sealed with newspaper, a woman was staring at me intently from the outside. That was definitely the same woman I'd seen earlier today. Could she be Hashikurasama? My grandfather, noticing my reaction, quickly covered the window. Paralyzed with fear, all I could do was press my hands together before the Buddhist statue and pray over and over. Please help me. Please help me. Kankandarahebi. My friend and I came to explore the forest at night. Adults always tell us never go near this place, but we didn't care. We wanted to get back at all those nagging adults. As a first act, what did we destroy? The area beyond the fence was off limits, but we were delinquents. We couldn't show any sign of being scared. We smashed the fence and pushed on inside. After walking for a while, I found a space enclosed by trees bound together with sacred rope, forming a hexagonal shape like a ritual barrier. What was it protecting? In the center was a wooden box like an offering box. It was probably what the barrier was protecting. Then my friend said, "Maybe there's treasure in it," and opened the box. Immediately after, I heard something that sounded like something crawling. I looked in the direction of the sound, and my legs gave out in terror. There's no way this creature belongs to this world. What happened? The woman who emerged from between the trees had 6 arms, and her lower body was that of a snake. The creature moves with a wet, dragging sound. Its target is... him? Hopefully not us. The creature rushed toward my friend at terrifying speed. With a sickening crack, my friend was devoured, right before my eyes. I was so horrified, I wet myself. I finally understood why the adults had always told us to stay away from here. They had been keeping this thing sealed away all along. No use regretting it now. The last thing I saw was the creature opening its massive jaws to devour me, and then my consciousness faded. Ura S-ku. Ever since I witnessed a man fall to his death from an apartment building a few days ago, I've constantly felt someone watching me. Creeped out, I asked my uncle and his wife, who were said to be physically sensitive, to come over. The moment my aunt stepped into the room, what did she do? She started praying. She took out prayer beads and began chanting sutras. According to the 2 of them, some kind of spirit had attached itself to me. In their neighborhood called Ura S-ku, all the residents have psychic sensitivity, so things like this apparently happen all the time. I was so shocked and frightened that my legs gave out. Yet someone in this situation was doing something entirely inappropriate. Who? Him? He's smiling? My uncle was laughing. Apparently in Ura S-ku, the standard response when you encounter a spirit is to laugh. It's meant to show the spirit that you're not intimidated. A spirit that died by suicide can't enter the room, so you're fine. See, you can see it too, can't you? My uncle said. Where is that spirit? Well, we got 2 of them. The ghost of the man whose suicide I witnessed is outside on the balcony. According to my uncle and aunt, however, this spirit can be left alone. It won't cause any harm. My uncle laughed and said, "But the spirit attached to you is a different one. I had tried not to notice it, but I had sensed that gaze for a while now. This is its true form." A spirit with only half a face appeared to me as well. My uncle was telling me to hurry up and laugh too, and he himself was laughing. But seeing that half-faced thing twitching and grinning made it impossible to laugh. It turned out I had simply been at the wrong place when someone took their life, and I had been cursed by sheer coincidence. The only way to deal with that half-faced spirit, apparently, is to laugh at it. As an occult enthusiast, I have been carrying out a certain urban legend ritual. Which object reveals the name of the ritual I performed? Oh my god, the teddy's got a knife out there. A search page is still open on my smartphone. Hitori. The one-person hide-and-seek can be done at home and alone. So I was tempted to try it. bad idea. The rules of Hitori require you to hide without fail. Where was I originally supposed to hide? Originally in the closet? The only place to hide would be the closet, but it seemed like too much effort, and I had taken other precautions, so I skipped the hiding part. I was overconfident that having this would keep any bad outcome at bay. What did I rely on? I had prepared a salt offering, but apparently I had accidentally used sugar instead of salt. That would have no protective effect at all. The demon that appeared afterward killed me. Where is the demon? The bear, the little cute teddy bear. To end Hitori, you must spray a cup of salt water on the stuffed animal and declare, "I win," 3 times. But I was caught by the demon before I could make the declaration. My boyfriend and I went for a drive. We wanted to stay again at that place we visited together 2 years ago. What was our destination? A small inn in a rural village. The hospitality had been so good that for some reason, we suddenly felt a strong urge to go back. This wasn't here before, and the writing, is it a misprint? I can't make sense of it. What caught my attention? The sign. A sign displayed the words, Kyotou-O. Maybe part of the lettering had worn away over time due to decay? How foolish of me to think that. My boyfriend tilted his head in confusion. Indeed, there is no way a place could change this much in just 2 years. What's wrong with this picture? Well, this thing is wrong. But that's not it. The buildings had crumbled. The entire village had become a ruin. Even the inn where we stayed was nowhere to be found. There had been no earthquake or disaster reported. For things to come to this state in such a short time is deeply wrong. Suddenly, my boyfriend screamed. He couldn't seem to form words. He was pointing and mouthing something wordlessly. What did he find? Nothing. A creature with an abnormally massive head was rushing towards us, shaking its head violently. My boyfriend frantically threw the car into reverse and floored it, fleeing the scene at top speed. I thought maybe he had come to the wrong place, but checking the brochure confirmed it was exactly where we had visited years ago. We never found out what that creature was, but I know we will never go back there again. Inunaki Village. Ooh, we're in a village. Oh geez. My boyfriend and I came to a famous paranormal hotspot. This place is supposedly a location in Japan that is not Japan. I was looking forward to a uniquely terrifying experience when my boyfriend suddenly screamed, "Run!" Why? Because there's a axe-wielding nutcase. There was a man with an axe standing right next to me. His eyes were unfocused and glazed, staring at me with a deranged look. We rushed to the car, but the engine wouldn't start. Of all times, what was the cause? It's smoking. Somehow the car's engine compartment had been completely wrecked. Could that man from earlier have done this? What do? This is our only means of escape. Well, just gotta run. At least let's contact someone. The one who might help us is... The police connected. I explained the situation and begged for help, but I was turned away. This is a special protected zone. Not even the police nor the government can intervene. Please flee immediately. Those were the only words I got before the call was cut. This wasn't just a paranormal hotspot. What does it even mean that neither the police nor the government can intervene? But there's no time to think. Right now, all I could do was run and keep running. There was no other way to escape. If that man catches us, we're dead. You can understand that just by looking at this. The skull. Human bones were scattered across the ground. These were probably people that man had killed. Maybe the true meaning of a location in Japan that is not Japan is a lawless zone. Suddenly, I stumbled and was dragged to the ground. I called out for my boyfriend running ahead of me, but he kept going and left me behind. That man is standing right behind me now. I should never have come to a place like this out of mere curiosity. The train I take every day to commute had been running without stopping for a while. Growing suspicious, about 20 minutes later, it came to a halt at a station I didn't recognize. An unfamiliar landscape. Let me figure out where I am. The sign? The sign's text was mirrored. Looking more closely, this place appeared to be called Kisaragi Station. I had never seen or heard of such a place. Had I boarded the wrong train? I tried to look up a map, but nothing would connect. What object is useless right now? Your phone. Sadly. I tried to open a map on my phone, but no matter how many times I tried, it just showed an error. Around the station, there was nothing but mountains and open fields. Not even a taxi stand. I looked for a timetable at the station platform, but couldn't find one. It seemed the only way back was to follow the tracks on foot. As I walked along the rails, I heard a voice. It's dangerous to walk there, you know. Is there someone else here? Where did the voice come from? It came from him? When I turned around, there was an old man with one leg standing there. He definitely hadn't been there a moment ago. When could he have appeared? He's unsettling, but maybe if I go over there, I'll meet more people. I'll summon my courage and try. On the other side of the tunnel, I found people. One kind stranger agreed to drive me to a nearby station. While we were in the car, I was suddenly overwhelmed by a powerful drowsiness and fell asleep. When I next came to, I was in a hospital bed. My parents were beside me, and the moment they realized I had woken up, they burst into tears. Apparently, I had been missing for 7 years, yet I looked exactly the same as I had 7 years ago. Could it be that I had somehow wandered into another world at that time? Oh my god. Can you imagine? While fishing, I lost my lure and was searching for it nearby. Then I heard a crackling sound, like someone stepping on twigs. Was it a wild animal? There was a completely naked person on the opposite bank. Were they a local sunbathing or something? Bold choice, I thought. At first I thought it was a local resident, but this naked person made a strange grunting sound and hurled at something at me. What was it that grazed past my head? A big-ass rock? A rock nearly hit me in the head. What is wrong with this person? One wrong angle and I could have been seriously injured. Out of fear and anger, I moved closer to give them a piece of my mind. But I couldn't bring myself to cross over. For some reason, it felt like I must not cross. Something on the ground? I remember that rivers are sometimes said to be the boundary between life and death. Could that thing over there not be human? When I braced myself, the naked person let out a strange shriek. Then I heard that crackling sound again, coming from somewhere. That's where it's coming from. Crackling sound from them? A human-shaped shadow moaning, was approaching from the far side. I screamed and ran home as fast as I could. When I told my grandmother at home what had happened, she said, "That's an Agari-bito." She said it's what a person becomes when they're claimed by nature and lose all reason and morality. My brother and I were walking alongside a rice field when my brother suddenly said, "There's something weird over there, moving in a wavy way." What did he find? A white human-shaped thing was moving. At first I thought it might be a scarecrow, but it wasn't. It kept moving even though there was no wind. Deeply unsettling. The mysterious white undulating thing was too far away to see clearly. What did my brother use to try to identify it? Binoculars. Even after peering through the binoculars, my brother wouldn't answer when I asked what he'd seen. He eventually dropped the binoculars. After a while, a loud laugh echoed through the surroundings. Who was laughing? My brother was laughing madly, writhing and undulating just like that white thing. As he laughed, he said in a voice that was no longer his own, "You shouldn't look at it." It was a little too late. I had been looking through those binoculars at this white thing just a moment ago. My brother saw it and lost his mind, which means next to lose their sanity is us. Oh no. I had seen that white undulating thing up close. I had no doubt that very soon I'll go mad just like my brother. I took my little sister to an abandoned house at the edge of town for thrills to test of courage. Engrossed in exploring, I got separated from my sister. It's so dark I can barely see. Where is my sister? She's right here. I found my sister huddled in a corner of the room. I was worried. "Don't leave my side again," I said, but she didn't respond, and something seemed strange about her. My sister was frantically eating her own hair. No matter how many times I told her to stop, she wouldn't. As I tried to take her and leave, I thought I saw someone in the center of the room. It's a wig. Looking more carefully, it wasn't a person. It was a vanity mirror and a bundle of hair propped up on something like a stick. The whole arrangement recreated the scene of a woman sitting in front of her vanity. It was too dark to notice before, but this room apparently was one that should not have been entered. A torn paper sign. The writing said, "No entry. This place is dangerous. I have to get my sister out of here immediately." As I was about to leave the room, I noticed something ghastly. Could my sister have seen this and be driven out of her mind? The hands. It looked like a human wrist. For someone as young as my little sister, it must have been an extreme shock. I took her still chewing hand and fled that eerie house. Days later, our parents, having heard of my sister's condition, turned pale and took her somewhere. When I asked what would happen to her, they turned sorrowful and said, "Your sister won't come back to normal. You must never contact her again. Forget that she ever existed." I was in the mountains at night when I got caught up in a certain incident. The reason I had come to the mountains at that hour was to visit that secret place of mine. A secret hideout I had found by chance. I would often eat snacks and play there. I usually made sure to go home before dark, but that night I had planned to spend the night there, except things didn't go as planned. While I was walking along the mountain path, I sensed someone nearby and hid in the bushes out of pure curiosity to watch. But I got found out. Why was I discovered? I'm guessing the dog barking? A stray dog I was fond of barked and gave away my presence. The figure turned out to be a middle-aged woman, probably in her 40s, with long, unkempt hair that looked unsettling. The woman shrieked and chased after me. I stumbled and fell, and was caught by her. What was it that she was so desperate to keep me from seeing? A photo of a young girl had been nailed to a tree with a large iron nail. What was this cursing ritual? At that moment, the dog leapt at the woman. It was probably trying to protect me, but the dog was killed by the woman. What weapon did she use? Aw, that's sad. A hammer, which she had been using to drive in the nails. She beat the dog to death with it. Then the middle-aged woman slowly turned her face toward me with a wide, creeping smile that said, "You're next." Pinned to the ground, I had no means of escape. All I could do was scream and cry out for help. I take it he didn't escape? A friend and I came to an abandoned hospital for a thrill-seeking adventure. As we kept walking, I heard a creaking sound. What was making it? An abandoned wheelchair was rolling on its own. There was no slope and no one sitting in it. Could it be a poltergeist activity? Perhaps because she couldn't see the floor in the dark, my friend tripped and fell. She wouldn't get up. And when I rushed over, I found her moaning, over and over. What happened to her? Looking closely, her leg was badly wounded, bleeding profusely. The skin and flesh of her shin had been stripped away, exposing the bone. When had she suffered such a terrible injury? Looking at the wound more carefully, it looked as though it had been bitten and torn away. Something terrifying was lurking in this abandoned hospital. Frightened, I tried to hurry and leave with my friend, but then I spotted something that froze me where I stood. What was it? The head? I could see the severed head of a child, just the head, no body. Its mouth was stained with blood. I think the severed head had bitten my friend's leg. I decided I couldn't carry my injured friend and run, so I had to stall until help arrived. I reached into my pocket for my phone, but it seemed I had dropped it somewhere along the way and couldn't find it. Is there anything else I can use to call for help? There was a payphone nearby. I hurriedly put in money and called my parents, but only static zzz came through the receiver and the call wouldn't connect. In a panic, I burst out of that abandoned hospital and fled. The next day, my friend's mother contacted me asking if I knew where her daughter had gone. Remembering my friend left behind in the hospital, I called the police. I have a friend who went to hospital and never came back. The police searched the hospital and found her, but she had died of hemorrhagic shock from massive blood loss. Damn. The day the villagers disappear. A couple who had recently moved to the village were found brutally killed. The village has a forbidden day once a year. For a single day, an evil presence descends into the village, and everyone must leave on that day. The couple didn't comply, but looking at their room, it seemed they were trying to leave. This makes it clear. A travel brochure. They had probably planned to leave the village on the day the villagers disappear. Yet in the end, the couple chose to stay. Why were they so adamant about not leaving the village? Because they had a weapon? The husband's hands were gripping a hunting rifle. Perhaps he had intended to confront the evil presence and become a hero of the village. The cause of the husband's death is obvious, but the wife shows no apparent external injuries. What was her cause of death? Something with her eyes? Blood was pouring from both of her eyes. Looking more closely, the sockets were sunken. It was clear her eyes had been gouged out. She had died from the shock of having both eyes removed while she was still conscious. Brutal. But the couple had been told that instead of leaving, they absolutely must not step outside their home. They actually stayed inside. So why were they killed? The window's open. I realized that the evil presence had entered the house through this open window and killed them. Whatever the evil presence is, and whatever its reasons, this forbidden day continues to exist in this village to this day. NNN Emergency Broadcast. A friend came over to stay the night. We were chatting away, and before we knew it, it was dark outside. What time is it now? It is 2:30. The clock hands point to 2:30. It's the middle of the night. I suppose I should go to sleep. Just as I went to turn off the TV and it had been left on, the program switched. Do they actually broadcast something at this hour? Checking the TV listings in the newspaper, I can see the current time is after broadcast hours. Yet a program suddenly started. What is going on? The atmosphere in the room feels somehow wrong, and I sense someone watching us. Is there someone else here besides us? Sure is. A ghastly pale white face appeared on the tablet screen. I involuntarily let out a gasp. What is this? What is happening? My friend, who had been quiet all this time, muttered a single word, my name, and started shaking uncontrollably. Name? What was she talking about? The following individuals will be tomorrow's victims, the TV announced. My friend's name appeared on the screen. How horrifying! I turned off the TV and repeatedly told my trembling friend that everything would be okay. I held her hand and we slept in the same bed. In the morning, I woke to find my friend with a look of utter peace on her face, but she had stopped breathing. Recently, a fatal accident involving a student occurred at the station near our school. The victim was apparently a girl from the class next door. I prepared something to pay my respects. What was it? Aw, flower. I don't know her name or her face, but I hope she finds happiness in heaven. Looking outside, the sun was beginning to set. I should get home before it gets too late. Then I heard a sound from somewhere. Tiki 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 tiki. What on earth was making that sound? I looked toward the sound and screamed. A girl was crawling on her elbows, coming right at me. That girl only has an upper body. How did I realize that? By the trail of blood? From the waist down, there is nothing. The lower half appears to have been torn away. I have a terrible feeling about what will happen if she catches me. I need to hide somewhere quickly and let her pass. Well, there's a locker. If you're quick enough, she's right behind you. I quickly hid inside the utility closet. Fortunately, the girl didn't notice me and disappeared somewhere. Later at school, a rumor spread that a girl with only an upper body was chasing people around. Apparently, this girl greatly resembled the one who had died in the accident at the station a short while ago. A girl I recently met suddenly came to my house to hang out. She's cute, but I was starting to think she might be the clingy, unstable type because I happened to see that. There was a kitchen knife in her bag. By any measure, this woman is a complete psycho. Come to think of it, I never told her my address. So how did she know where I lived? She said it was because she had given me a part of herself. I had no memory of receiving any such thing. Oh, ew, is that a finger? A mannequin-like artificial finger came out of my pocket. She said this finger was a part of her, and as long as I had it, she would always know where I was. If you throw it away, I'll kill you, she said with a smile. I've been hearing a strange sound for a while now. Click, click, like two pieces of light material clinking together. Where is the sound coming from? There's a seam running around her neck, like the joint on a soft vinyl figure. Whenever she moved, a click-click sound came from that seam. So she's a mannequin? Suddenly she flew into a rage, pulled the clever out of her bag, and lunged at me. Calling the police would mean waiting until it was too late. What action did I take to escape from her? You jumped out the window? Hopefully it's not high up. I dove out through an open window. I was running with everything I had to shake her off. But she was incredibly fast. Just when I felt she was about to catch me, I heard a collision behind me. Stunned, I looked back. A truck had stopped there, and where the girl chasing me had been, there was no trace of her, only a doll resembling her lying on the ground. The relief of being safe mixed with horror of knowing a non-human entity had been trying to kill me, and I made up my mind to avoid involvement with women as much as possible from then on. My classmate Mami-chan was absent from school. When I went to visit her, I was told she had just passed away. What object seems related to that of death? An ice pack is hanging there. Apparently she had suddenly developed a high fever. While they were calling for an ambulance, Mami-chan unexpectedly stopped breathing. That one also looks sad to me. Which one am I referring to? A Japanese doll with a bobbed haircut. Mami-chan adored this doll like a little sister and always kept it close to her. When she was alive, Mami-chan had mentioned, "I got it as a gift." Who bought the doll? Her father had bought it as a souvenir when returning from a business trip. Perhaps she treasured it all the more because it was a gift from her father. That girl was taken by the doll, Mami-chan's grandmother said. Apparently strange things had been happening for a while. What were they? Pointing to a bundle of hair, she said, "That is the doll's hair. Mommy used to cut it every single day as it kept growing, and the doll took a liking to Mommy and brought her to the other world." Fearfully, I looked over at the doll. It looked like it was smiling with satisfaction. I was awoken in the middle of the night by a con-con sound coming from the living room. When I went toward it, I witnessed something. An unknown woman was sitting on top of the table. The con-con sound was coming from where she was. The sight was so deeply wrong that I nearly screamed, but I felt that making a noise would lead to something terrible. Why did I think that? My older sister was standing right next to the woman. My sister had no idea I was there and was staring transfixed at the woman. I thought that if I cried out, something horrible would happen to my sister. Eventually, however, I reached my breaking point. What did I do? I let out a scream. At the very moment, the woman turned to look at my sister. In this emergency, I was calling for help. Who was it? My mother came, half asleep. After the scream, I had gone to my mother's bedroom. I shook her awake and wanted her to come deal with the woman in the living room. But when I returned to the living room with my mother, the woman was gone. What was that woman? And what was that con sound? I still don't know. My best friend had died suddenly. While attending the funeral, I witnessed something strange. Was I seeing a hallucination because I couldn't accept the reality? My best friend, who was supposed to be dead, was walking outside. I thought it must be a trick of the eye, but others also seemed to notice and was staring outside in surprise. I heard a voice say, "That isn't the one we knew." Where did the voice come from? A pale-faced person told me quietly, "That is a doppelganger." If so, I understood why my best friend had died so suddenly. She must have encountered her own doppelganger and been killed by it. After hearing the story of the doppelganger, I realized my own time might be next. It was me, sitting there. I had heard a rumor that if you see your doppelganger, you will die within a few days. I should consult someone well-versed in supernatural phenomena. Where is the person who might know what to do? I consulted the head priest, who told me there was no countermeasure. As long as I did nothing, nothing bad would happen. But if I made contact with it, I would be killed. After hearing this, I desperately wanted to flee this place as quickly as possible. When I arrived at work at the nursery school one morning, as usual, I saw something impossible. There was the carcass of a rabbit, and I recognized this rabbit. It had been there just yesterday. That's gross. So, this? That rabbit was one the nursery kept as a pet. Recently, animal carcasses have been turning up all over the school grounds. It started with the insects, then lizards and moles. The creatures being killed were gradually getting larger, and it was deeply unsettling. I quickly disposed of the rabbit's carcass, but then I heard a voice from behind. Ah, someone had seen it. Who was it? A boy who had arrived at school early was staring at the rabbit hutch. When I called out to him, he said, "It was Hisaruki that did it." When I asked him what Hisaruki was, he said, "I don't know, but a kin was drawing it the other day." Which one is that drawing? There's one drawing that's been entirely painted black. At the time, I thought he just liked the color black, but apparently that wasn't it. Still, looking at it, I had no way of understanding what Hisaruki actually was. I heard Akun's lively voice. He seemed to have arrived very early today. I turned toward the sound and was struck, speechless. Akun was wearing bandages he hadn't had yesterday. There was no doubt that this was Hisaruki's doing. I still didn't understand what Hisaruki was, but it was clear that this was something I couldn't resolve on my own. I would go to a nearby temple to seek advice. I was walking home with a friend along her usual route when she suddenly let out a yelp. I turned around to find her sprawled on the ground from a bad fall at the moment. I saw the scene. I cried out myself. It was because I saw that. Oh, the hand? I saw a wrist gripping my friend's ankle. Below the wrist, there was nothing. Terrified, we ran from the spot, but a peta-peta sound kept following us wherever we went. What was causing that sound? Footprints? Immediately behind me was a trail of jet black footprints. No matter how fast I ran, they kept following us. Panicking in this impossible situation, we decided to call for help. Is there anyone nearby who might help us? Well, maybe her if she wanted to. We asked an elderly woman who was sweeping her front steps for help. The wrist and the footprints apparently weren't visible to her, and she listened to us with a puzzled expression. Before we knew it, the hand that had been grabbing my friend's ankle and the footprints had vanished. I thought maybe this was connected to the thing. The bouquet placed there is a tribute to someone who died in a traffic accident here a short while ago. Perhaps that ghost is a person who died in the accident, held back by some lingering regret, unable to rest in peace. Maybe they just wanted someone to notice them. I had invited some friends over and they came to my house. We actually go to the park, but today we decided to stay in. Here's why. 'Cause it was raining. The weather segment on TV is forecasting rain. Based on the timing, it looks like rain will begin soon, followed by a prolonged downpour. I wonder if it started raining yet. I was glancing over to check when I noticed something strange. What did we see? There was a child whose entire body was red. Their umbrella, raincoat, and boots all red, and their face had no life in it, as if they weren't alive at all. Oh, their eyes are red too. I realized that this might be the apparition called Makkakkasan. From the rumors, their appearance matched what I've heard, and apparently anyone who sees Makkakkan dies. However, there is something you can wear that will save you. What is it? What about the hairband? Reportedly, wearing something red will let you escape death. I happen to be wearing a red ribbon today, which is why nothing has happened to me. If Makkakkasan is real, who among us will be the next victim? Her, because she's not wearing anything red. One of my friends wasn't wearing anything red. I rushed over to give her something red, but she suddenly foamed at the mouth and collapsed. When I touched her shoulder to shake her, her body was already cold. Unbelievably, she had been killed by Makkakkasan. When I looked out the window, Makkakkasan was already gone. While on a drive with my daughter, the car suddenly stalled. My phone had no signal, and I was at a loss when my daughter, apparently tired, fell asleep without warning. Then I heard a sound from somewhere. The last thing I wanted was a wild animal. I scanned my surroundings carefully and nearly screamed. I saw that. Oh my god. Something that wasn't human was rushing toward us with erratic, lurching movements. I was overcome with terror and almost screamed, but I held it in, not wanting to wake my sleeping daughter beside me. Suddenly, my daughter jolted awake, but I immediately knew this wasn't really my daughter. How? My daughter was repeating over and over in an eerie voice, "I'm in, I'm in, I'm in." Her expression was a slack, creeping grin. Nothing like my daughter. Could it be that the creature had entered her body? I have to get the creature out of my daughter quickly. What might be effective? Well, hopefully not what you're holding. Okay. This? I ran to a roadside Jizu statue I spotted and pressed my hands together, praying desperately, "Please save my daughter." But it seemed to have no effect. My daughter was still muttering something with that same eerie grin. I can't drive the creature out of my daughter, but there is one thing I can do right now. Beat her to death? I grabbed the bat I had in the back seat and charged towards the creature. I thought if I destroyed it, my daughter would be saved, but the white creature simply faded away like smoke. A horrible feeling came over me and I rushed back to the car and tried the engine. On a whim, it started. I immediately drove back the way we came. My daughter was still mumbling beside me. I began to suspect she might be like this forever, and the crushing regret of having brought her to this place was nearly unbearable. Due to certain circumstances, I was living and working at this location. The job was to serve as a monitor, but not an ordinary monitor. This is what I watch. There is a woman who looks ready to jump. That's what I'm here to monitor. This location is a famous tourist spot, but suicides have never stopped occurring, so my job is to report anyone who looks like they might jump. I'd only been doing this job for about 2 weeks, but I was already wanting to quit. However, there's a specific reason I couldn't easily walk away. This is it. The monthly salary of 500,000 yen advertised on the job flyer was what drew me in, but I have to keep doing this for a whole month. Honestly, watching person after person attempt suicide every day was starting to get to me too. And monitoring potential suicides isn't even all my job. There's another task. This is it. There's a body inside. The other part of my job is handing over drowned bodies that wash ashore to the police. Bodies washed up almost daily, and each time I had to pull one out, my spirit sank lower. Yeah, I bet. To keep my sanity, I clung to one particular thing. Without it, I wouldn't have been able to hold on to my mind. Oh, you're watching adult tapes? Okay. This was the only way to numb the dread. With corpses washing up every day, reporting would-be suicides, and sometimes sleeping next to a waterlogged body until the police arrived. My mind had been broken, and this barely kept me going. But when I realized I had hit my limit, I left this job without collecting my pay. What an idiot! Living alone in my apartment, I've lately had the feeling that something is lurking. The reason is this. There was no earthquake, so why is it lying on the floor? Book? Books keep ending up on the floor on their own. Other times I notice things that have been moved from where I left them. It doesn't look like a break-in. Even though I'm the only one in the apartment, the feeling of being watched has been growing. Frightened, I sealed up something. What? Oh, he boarded the window. I nailed boards over the windows so no one could peer inside. And yet, I still feel watched. Could it be that whoever is watching me is already inside the apartment? While inspecting the apartment, I found something and cried out involuntarily. What shocked me? In a gap too narrow for any ordinary person to fit, there was a woman. There's no way she belongs to this world. The woman was staring at me with an eerie expression, endlessly and without blinking. After that, the Gap woman began appearing more and more frequently. My mind was completely breaking down. What did I use in a desperate attempt to free myself from the suffering? Oh, they're meds. Ooh. There are pills prescribed by the psychiatrist, but as long as the Gap woman keeps appearing, the medication can't fix anything. I swallowed a large number of pills all at once in a suicide attempt. My junior colleague and I had come to a snow-covered mountain for work. Which tool reveals what kind of work we were doing? Survey camera. We are land surveyors. The equipment we use is surveying gear, a small telescope mounted on a compass. In the middle of the job, the weather worsened and a blizzard set in. We had other colleagues with us, but I was so absorbed in the work that I lost track of them. Where did they go? Well, they got footprints here. When I contacted them, I was irresponsibly told that they had left due to an urgent matter. With no choice, we resumed the job ourselves. Looking through the telescope toward my junior colleague, I could see a human figure behind them. It's odd for there to be a person in a place like this, but something about them was even stranger. What? Looking more closely at the figure, it was a woman. Her clothing was completely inappropriate for a snowy mountain. The woman was approaching my junior colleague and whispering something in their ear. I started moving closer to help my colleague, and then I noticed something alarming. What made me think this was an emergency? Before I knew it, there was a large pool of blood at my junior colleague's feet. Frantically, I approached and found that my colleague's jaw had been dislocated and their mouth torn open. The horror was so overwhelming that I screamed and fled down the mountain in a panic. I reported it to the police afterward, but they told me only my work equipment had been found at the scene. Late at night, hopelessly lost, we found a small ramen stall standing alone in the middle of the mountains, who looked like they might be able to give us some directions. The female attendant looked like she had a free moment, so I called out to ask for directions, but she showed no response, as if she couldn't hear me. The stall seemed to be doing good business. Every seat was taken, but something about this ramen stall felt wrong. I sensed it because of this. There were men who sat there motionless, with ramen ready in front of them that they hadn't touched. They looked like they had no intention of eating, just sitting there. I found it deeply unsettling. But how did those men even get here? What do we have that they don't? Have a phone? Oh, the car. We came here by car, but looking around, I couldn't find any vehicles at all. My companion was urging me to leave this place immediately. I told her it was dangerous to drive blindly with a broken navigation system, and she said there was something we could use to check this route. Where could that possibly be? The phone. That's what I was trying to click on before. I had been relying on the car navigation so much that I had completely forgotten I could check the map on the phone. We quickly drove away from there. Midway, the phone died and we were stranded, but a passing man kindly offered to guide us out. When I mentioned the ramen stall we had seen to him, his expression became severe and he said, "You mustn't come back around here. They say the second time is terrible." Apparently, that ramen stall is only visible to outsiders, and if you see it twice, something dreadful will happen to you. I came to visit my friend at her house. She said she had made a new friend recently. Where did she meet this new friend? She got to know them through social media. Apparently, this new friend gives her interesting challenges as tasks. Things like watch a horror movie alone in the middle of the night. That's not a challenge. That's fun regardless. She said, "This is that friend," and showed me something. Which one is the friend? There is a photo of a creepy-looking doll. That looks like a ghost. It seems this is what the friend uses as their social media profile icon and as a substitute for selfies. I had nothing but a bad feeling about this. I noticed midway through that she hurt herself. Something looked painfully raw. Well, since that's there... Oh, she's got cuts on her wrist. Those are self-harm scars, not an injury. She's never been the type to hurt herself. When I asked her about it, she answered, "Cutting myself was one of the challenges. What are you on, TikTok?" Apparently, if she doesn't complete the challenge, she'll be cursed. But the challenge given to me today is even harder, she said. I rushed over and restrained her. If I hadn't, she would have used that. Why did I hold her down? There's a rope meant for hanging. The latest challenge is apparently hang yourself. No matter how much I pleaded that someone who gives out challenges like this is no friend of hers, she wouldn't listen. I urgently called her parents and somehow managed to stop her from completing the final challenge. While out for a walk, I kept sensing someone speaking to me, but whenever I looked in that direction, no one was there. Down here, I heard again. Where was the voice coming from? Oh my god. Oh my god. A dog with a human face was speaking to me. Terrified, my legs gave out and I collapsed on the spot. The creepy dog just kept staring at me and made no attempt to harm me. I was thinking of escaping while I could, when another eerie dog emerged from behind the garbage bags. The face on this dog felt like I had seen it somewhere before. Oh. Is it your friend? That dog looked exactly like my friend. She had actually gone missing a year ago. Could she have been turned into one of those strange dogs? I was drawn down to the dog that looked like my friend and approached it, and it bit me. As I endured the pain, the bitten area rapidly turned purple. Then I heard growling from somewhere, a sound aimed at me with pure hostility. My own dog was baring its fangs and glaring at me. It had been barking at those strange dogs just a moment ago. Why was it suddenly turning on me? The dog looked at me and said, "You'll end up like us eventually," and disappeared somewhere. This is probably why. Because we got bit? The bite from that dog still hurts, so with my own dog still glaring at me, I returned home. I lost consciousness the moment I stepped through the door. When I came to, my mother was in front of me, her face a mask of terror. "Mom," I said, and she swung a bat at me. I ran without understanding why and caught a glimpse of my reflection in the glass. My appearance had become just like those dogs. There's a park I passed on my way home from work. I like the fountain in that park and often spend time there, but today I didn't want to go near my favorite spot. That's because she was there. A creepy woman in red clothing had been at the fountain for a while now. She kept appearing there recently, always wandering around, and it was deeply unsettling. Always wandering around in this area late at night. Maybe she's an employee or something at one of those places nearby. There are a lot of girls' bars and those kinds of establishments in this neighborhood, and she does wear flashy colored clothing, so I figured that was probably it. I get the sense that someone is watching me. Is someone looking at me? There's a man who keeps looking at me. I found him uncomfortable and was trying to leave quickly when he spoke to me. "You must not come through here anymore," the man pressed me again and again. He said this park is well known as a suicide spot and tends to attract dark presences. I couldn't believe such a thing until I saw that and could no longer deny it. A rope was tied around a tree. It was clearly something used in a hanging suicide. Could it be that the creepy woman in red wasn't a living person either? I felt deeply uneasy and hurried away from the park. I visited the home of my girlfriend, from whom I had not heard in several days. Why had she not contacted me? 'Cause she couldn't? She was dead in the center of the room, lying in a pool of blood. Had she been caught up in a murder case? I realized she had taken her own life. This tells me so. Under the desk, a fountain pen stained with blood had fallen. She must have used this to end her own life. There must be something in this room connected to her suicide. What was it? On a red screen, the names of various people were listed, and her name was among them. This is the so-called Red Room, a cursed website. Those who view the Red Room website are said to be driven mad by the curse and take their own lives, which means the next victim is... it's always us. The next victim is me. I've seen the Red Room site, cursing the senseless curse that had fallen upon me. I went to where she lay. I clasped her cold hand and slowly closed my eyes. I was doing certain shady work for a gang member, and one day I was asked to help transport a large piece of baggage. They wouldn't tell me what was inside, but it's almost certainly a human. I figured that out because I saw this. Oh, something peeking through. Human hair and a patch of skin were sticking out from the bag, but the bag's contents appeared to still be alive occasionally. The bag would move. I was told to deliver the baggage to an underground tunnel. This seems quite an old facility. How did I realize that? The sign read Imperial Army Well, number 126. With Imperial Army written there, this must have been used or before World War II. We appear to have reached the destination. The gang members seemed to intend to throw the bag, still alive, into that place. Something pale and featureless crawled out of the well. Could it be they were feeding the bag's contents to this thing? The contents of the bag, sensing their fate, began thrashing violently. Because the bag's contents were thrashing so violently, this was used to subdue them. I would say a bat? The bat or the needle? Okay, it's the needle. For some reason, the contents had to be kept alive, so it seems they used drugs to knock them unconscious. After that, the white creature that emerged from the well dragged the bag down into it. A friend and I explored an abandoned house that had become a paranormal hotspot. The moment we entered the room, I noticed something. The fact that these are here might mean whoever lived here was a doctor. There were a large number of medical instruments. All of them were coated with something like dark reddish-brown rust. My friends suddenly stopped in their tracks and said in a trembling voice, "Wait, I thought this was an abandoned house. Is someone still here?" What did my friends see that made them ask that? There was a magazine with June issue written on it. This is the current month's latest issue. Something tells me it's not just us in this place. Is there someone here? Sure is. Inside a mannequin was a bearded man grinning with a deeply unsettling smile. We froze in shock, and the man asked us, "Do you like this sort of thing?" The moment I understood what he meant, I went cold with terror. There's no way I like something like that. The man was pointing at a patchwork woman and asking me, "Do you like this sort of thing?" The woman's body was covered in crude stitches and was deeply disturbing. I grabbed my friend and we ran out of the ruins. On the way out, I thought I heard the man's voice behind me saying, "Do you like it?" But I didn't look back, just ran with everything I had. Where did I take my girlfriend late at night to try to scare her? The cemetery. Just a little prank. I took her to a graveyard. I stepped away for a while, and when I came back, she said, "That was terrifying," and scolded me. But I got to see her cute side, and I was satisfied. As I glanced ahead, I spotted a child. Where could they have come from? There are no houses around here. My girlfriend proposed something to me when she saw the child out here late. What was it? She said, "Let's take them home, and they might be lost." It was true that seeing a child alone out so late was worrying, but I noticed something strange. Something is off about that child. What feels wrong? The child was waving at us, but showing the back of their hand. Oh, I see it. Acting in the opposite way from normal is said to mean a being is not of this world. That child must be a ghost or something similar. When I explained this, my girlfriend seemed impressed and said, "How do you know so much? That's amazing." But seeing that made me want to cry. Why? She was smiling and clapping, but with the backs of their hands pressed together instead of the palms. That's the wrong way around. This is called Ura Hakushu, reverse clapping, and it's said to be something only the dead do. In other words, she had already died. When had it happened? I could do nothing but cry, overwhelmed by the regret of having left her alone even for a moment in a place like this. I was working at the demolition site of an old temple when I found a blackened wooden box. While I was pondering what to do with it, I heard a shout, "Do not open that!" Who was it? The man yelling furiously turned out to be the temple's former head priest. The sheer intensity of his anger made clear that something extraordinary was inside that box. A colleague, ignoring the priest's warnings, opened the box. Then the colleague suddenly foamed at the mouth and collapsed. Why? Inside the box was a deformed mummy with 2 heads and 4 arms. The shock of seeing it must have caused the collapse. It seems the box itself is a curse, and a particularly powerful one at that. Apparently those of us who saw it cannot live long. Right after, another colleague was badly injured. What caused the injury? Oh, nails. Ugh. Before anyone realized, there was a large nail at the colleague's feet. The colleague stepped on it and punched a hole about 6 centimeters deep through the foot. There had been no dangerous object there while we were working. The cursed box was supposed to have been moved to another temple, but someone chose not to do it. Who? Him? The head priest had asked his son to transport the cursed box to another temple, but his son, terrified of the curse, refused to carry it out and decided to erase the entire temple from existence instead. Since then, I have been bedridden with mysterious high fever, and the 2 colleagues who had looked closely at the contents of the box both died of heart failure. That curse was real. Ever since my girlfriend bought this thing recently, she's been playing with it non-stop like someone possessed. What is it that she's so absorbed in? It's a toy called Rinfone, something like a 3-dimensional puzzle. It starts out as a regular icosahedron, and its pieces rotate to change its shape. Apparently, if you solve it correctly, it transforms into shapes of various animals. What makes this clear? According to its instructions, it changes in the order of bear, hawk, then fish. She stayed up all night to complete the bear shape and managed the hawk shape a few days later. When only the fish shape remained, she began to be plagued by something. What keeps calling and becoming a nuisance? There is an incoming call displayed as Beyond, a name she had no memory of registering, ringing every 30 seconds. When she answers, all she hears is a murmur, like a crowd of people talking in the background, and then the call cuts off. The police were of no help and sent us away with a dismissive. It's probably a prank call. Try changing your number and be careful. There's nothing for it. Let's try making an appointment here as a last resort. The fortune teller told us, I can see something behind your girlfriend, like an animal figurine. It is a concentrated form of hell. Throw away whatever comes to mind immediately. And with that, they sent us away. Then my girlfriend said to me fearfully, the spelling of Rinfone is R-I-N-F-O-N-E. Rearranged it spells Inferno. Shaken to the core, I went to her place and threw the Rinfone, along with his instructions, into the trash. After that, the strange calls apparently stopped. Okay, that was a good one. A happy end. No one got hurt. Or worse. I accidentally opened an image from my computer that supposedly curses whoever sees it. I was terrified. The only thing I could rely on right now is this. One of the screens? I posted on an internet forum for advice, and someone who claimed to know about curses volunteered to perform a memorial ritual for me. I have no idea who they are, but I had no choice but to ask for their help. Apparently, for the ritual to work, the room must not be bright. What was I told to turn off? Well, that would be the light. Through the forum exchange, I was instructed to turn off the indoor lights. The ritual would begin from the moment I switched them off. After having the incantation read out through the forum, I was told, now drink this. What did I drink? Water. Hopefully it's just water. I was told to drink a full cup of water, and then, the ritual is now complete. Thank you for your hard work. I felt relieved for a moment, but then others on the forum started saying, this method is dangerous, and anyone who drank the water is in serious trouble. What do you mean? According to the others, the image itself was harmless. It was the so-called ritual that was the true curse. Could those words actually have meant something? It seems I have been deceived according to others. The lights were deliberately turned off to invite evil spirits in, and then those spirits were made to enter you along with the cup of water. In other words, thank you for your hard work. Utsukarasama Deshita was a homophone for thank you for being possessed. Trembling fingers typed out another plea for help on the forum, but apparently there's no way to be saved now. I had come to stay at a relative's house during summer vacation. The living room seemed to be in an uproar. I went downstairs to see what was happening and caught sight of something that made me catch my breath. This is why I was shocked. My cousin was there with her eyes rolled back. I asked my nearby grandfather what had happened, and he said, because they went into the mountain behind the house. That's what did it. Just going into the mountain shouldn't normally cause something like this. The fact that this person is here made me realize something terrible had happened to my cousin in the mountain. A monk was desperately reciting sutras. Under normal circumstances, you'll call an ambulance or drive them to a hospital, but they called the local monk instead, without doing either of those things, which confirmed beyond any doubt that it was a curse. What exactly had my cousin been cursed with? Hair? The hair? Something black was coiled around their arm. Looking closely, the black thing had penetrated the skin and was writhing inside the arm. This must be the source of the curse, but what on earth is it? At the moment, a voice said, "The arm is already lost. There's only one way to save them. Use this." What was it they intended to use? Well, my grandfather brought out a kitchen knife and plunged it forcefully into my cousin's arm, but no blood came out. Instead, countless strands of hair began crawling out. My cousin was later rushed to the hospital and survived. When I later asked what had happened, it turned out to be a cursed object called Kanhimo, made from hair and bones. My cousin had stumbled upon it while playing in the mountain behind the house and had been cursed. After school, I was hanging out in the classroom with close friends. What were we doing? You were playing a game? 3 of us were trying Kokkuri-san. We had started with light curiosity, something like wanting to know which boy in class a certain girl had a crush on. But then, partway through, someone knocked something off the desk. What was dropped? One of the rules of Kokkuri-san is that you must not remove your finger from the 10-yen coin, but we were so nervous that we accidentally let the coin drop. Letting go of the coin sent someone into a panic, who lost their composure. One of my friends fell into a frenzy, as though possessed by something. I noticed she was about to jump out the window and rushed over to stop her. According to the rules of the Kokkuri-san, anyone who lifts their finger from the 10-yen coin will be killed. So far, only one person has shown signs of disturbance. Perhaps we were lucky enough to be overlooked. That's what I thought, but I quickly realized I was wrong. This is what told me. Is it the shadow? A demon? My friend's shadow had a strange shape, as though a fox were standing there. Kokkuri-san apparently had no intention of letting anyone go. I deeply regretted what we had done out of mere curiosity. I came to confirm a certain rumor. According to the rumor, if you knock here 3 times, someone will answer back. Knock on the bathroom stall? I knocked 3 times on the 3rd stall door, and a small voice came from inside. Yes? The rumor about the Hanako-san of the toilet was true. Hanako-san will answer to any question. Just as I was about to ask something, I noticed a curious object. Has someone else been here too? Near the window, someone's indoor school shoes have been left neatly arranged. It looked as though someone had just been standing there. With a bad feeling, I asked Hanako-san, where is the child who owns those shoes? Hanako-san said, the one that jumped from a window and died. But when I saw that, I immediately knew it was a lie. From inside the mirror, a child was calling out for help. Hanako-san seemed to have been taking a liking to this child and had locked them inside. I was going to ask Hanako-san how to free the child trapped in the mirror when I felt a gaze on me. The only one who had been invisible until now. That gaze must belong to the entity I called. Hanako-san was peering at me from over the top of one of the stalls. Would you like to stay with me? She said with an eerie smile. I frantically grabbed the door handle to leave, but the door wouldn't open. Before I knew it, I had been sealed inside this space too. On a rainy day while walking outside, I heard a wet, dragging sound. Where was it coming from? It was the sound of a slender woman dragging something large and heavy, but she had no umbrella despite the heavy rain. I felt concerned and moved closer to check on her. Moving closer, I could see that what she was dragging was a lump of flesh. A terrible feeling came over me, and despite myself, I moved even closer to get a better look. Could this possibly be a child? Because of the backpack? A blood-soaked school backpack, a little ways away. Given how it had been dragged alongside the other thing all the way here, this was clearly the former owner's, before they became a lump of flesh. I may have just witnessed something unimaginably horrible. Gripped by morbid curiosity, I followed the woman. I wanted to know where she was going. She eventually stopped in front of a certain house. I realized she must have carried these lumps of flesh back to this house many times before. The evidence was right there. The red liquid smeared thickly against the window, and beyond it, what was clearly a mass of flesh. Some of those brought there may even still be alive when they entered that house. What on earth is her purpose in all of this? Thinking that leaving this abnormal woman to roam free would only lead to more victims, I reported the house to the police, but the police would barely listen. Why? Because she's not really alive? It turned out that the owner of this house had died long ago by suicide, and because similar reports had been made multiple times before, the police had actually looked into it, but found not a single trace of flesh, blood, or anything I had described. They apparently dismissed it as yet another prank call. I glanced back toward the house, and the woman and the lump of flesh had vanished. Had it all been a dream? But the trail of blood that something had been dragged through was still there on the ground. My friend and I were doing a budget trip by hitchhiking. A camper van stopped at a convenience store and agreed to give us a ride, but I felt extremely uncomfortable. Oh my god. Well, it has to be these two guys, right? Oh jeez. Middle-aged twin brothers sitting across from us were staring and grinning at us. Not only that, but their hairstyles and clothing were identical, and even the timing of their burps matched exactly, which made them deeply unsettling. I immediately regretted getting in. Suddenly, I heard a child's laughter from somewhere, but looking around, there was no child anywhere. Where was the sound coming from? In the back? The sound was coming from there. Were there more of them already? My friend had also sensed something was wrong with his family, and we made up our minds to get out. No matter how many times we said we wanted out, they wouldn't stop the van, saying, "We'll be at the destination soon." So, where were we now? Looking out the window, we had somehow ended up deep in an uninhabited mountain, even though we had been driving on a national highway just moments before. Where on earth were we being taken? Before long, the van stopped. Knowing this was our only chance to escape, we both jumped up to make a dash for the exit. Just as I rose, I heard a loud bang, something slamming against a surface. I looked toward the sound and caught my breath. This? A human-shaped shadow was pressing itself against the window. I sensed this must be Mamoru. Then Mamoru cried out, "Mama!" And everyone turned to look at us at once. Without even grabbing our bags, we burst out of the van and ran through the dark forest as fast as we could. This was terrifying enough to make me swear I would never hitchhike again. Shouldn't have done it in the first place. My close friend, who I had always been together with, suddenly died. At her funeral, her mother said she was so looking forward to it. How cruel a fate of her to die on the day before. What had my friend been looking forward to? She was about to celebrate her coming-of-age ceremony. She had prepared this kimono for it and had been so excited to wear it. She had a slight interest in the occult, so maybe she had gotten involved in something strange. She was perfectly healthy. There must be some reason for her sudden death. I looked around her room to see if anything seemed off. A website about Murasaki Kagami was still open on screen. It was an urban legend stating that if you remember the phrase Murasaki Kagami, purple mirror, until you turn 20, you will die. She died last week. What happened last week? Last week was her 20th birthday. Could it be that she couldn't forget that legend and was cursed to death? There's something she treasured dearly. I'd like you to have it, since you were her closest friend, so you could always remember her. When she tried to hand it to me, I realized this was the very thing that had caused my friend's death. She handed me a worn hand mirror, most of its surface painted over in purple. That urban legend was probably real, and next week was my own 20th birthday. While home alone, as my parents had asked, something keeps ringing persistently. What is making all the noise? A prank call kept coming in repeatedly. Fed up, I finally picked up, but the line was silent for a while. Then came a voice from the other end. It's me, Mary. I'm at the garbage dump right now. The name Mary rang a bell. It was the same as a doll I had thrown away years ago. There's no way a doll would phone me. The idea is absurd. But then the phone rang again and I picked it up without thinking. This time the voice said, It's me, Mary. I'm right in front of your house now. I had a bad feeling about this. Where is Mary-san? Before I knew it, a worn stuffed doll had appeared in the garden. It was the exact same doll I had thrown away in the past. It sat there staring at me, as though glaring. I realized Mary-san was trying to get inside my house. What was the first thing needed to do? I rushed to close the glass door to the balcony. When I looked back, Mary-san had disappeared. Well, she's probably inside now. I was relieved that Mary-san was gone, but almost immediately the phone rang again, and she said, It's me, Mary. I'm right behind you now, and hung up. An alarm was going off in my head, telling me not to turn around. What did I arm myself with for self-defense? I grabbed the kitchen knife nearby and swung it forcefully at the doll as I spun around, but I was stabbed by the doll instead. Perhaps it had been holding a grudge all this time, wanting revenge for how I treated it and thrown it away. My friends and I fell well in the forest. One of my friends, the smallest, volunteered to investigate the inside and climbed down, but hadn't come back out for several hours. Worried, I climbed in to look. Where could my friend be? My friend was lying buried under a mountain of dolls. I was actually impressed that anyone could sleep in a place like that. I had no way to get my sleeping friend out of this well. Was there anything I could use to escape? You have a phone? I had brought my mobile phone. I told my father what had happened and asked him to come and pick us up. That's a relief. It's a miracle it worked. Once my eyes adjusted to the dark, I found something that froze me in place with fear and shock. How long had it been here? Its skeletal remains. Looking closely, it was roughly the size of a child. Perhaps they had fallen into the well by accident and couldn't call for help. My father came to pick us up, and I tried to pull my friend out from the pile of dolls. I felt a sudden sense of wrongness. It hasn't been that long since I got into this well, but could this really have gotten this decayed so quickly? Yeah, I noticed his leg. Is it his leg? It's his pants? Looking more carefully, it wasn't my friend's leg at all. There was another set of skeletal remains. Panicking, I cried out and begged my father for help. After lifting both me and my friend out of the well, my father murmured quietly, "That's strange. I don't remember a well being there." While doing a haunted exploration with friends in an abandoned house, one person suddenly began acting strangely, as though possessed. After a short while, they seemed to calm down and return to normal. But I sensed this was no ordinary situation and hurried everyone to a nearby temple. Who among us was showing signs of disturbance? My friends started acting strangely again, laughing loudly in fits. Ah ha 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 ha! Shaking them and slapping their cheeks did nothing to bring them back to normal. My friend's condition appeared to be caused by a spiritual disturbance. What looks like it might help? A monk is reciting sutras. According to the monk, it's highly likely that my friend saw some kind of cursed object. He would try to break the curse through prayer. At the moment, I saw something move at the edge of my vision. What was it? Is that a shadow? The shadow of something with an abnormally long neck was standing in front of the sliding door. I asked the monk what it was, and they said they didn't know, but it was clearly a dangerous presence. I felt more anger than fear at this incomprehensible situation and decided to drive that shadow away. What could be used as a weapon? The candle. I grabbed a nearby candlestick and threw the sliding door open to face whatever was casting the shadow. It was a Japanese doll with an abnormally long neck. I struck it with a candlestick, and with a dull cracking sound, the doll began to emit smoke and catch fire. The candle flame must have spread to it. After that, my friend's condition recovered completely. The doll's true nature remains unknown, but the monk confirmed it was undoubtedly a cursed object. And on the charred remains of the doll, barely legible letters had been scorched into the torso. They read, Uzu Doll. I was kidnapped and brought to a warehouse in the middle of nowhere. There is a reason I ended up in this situation. The one who caused this was him. Oh, his friend? A friend of mine had shown up at my apartment a few days earlier, needing a place to stay. I was reluctant, but ultimately let him in out of sympathy, and that was my mistake. According to the man who kidnapped us, my friend had stolen something. What did he steal? Oh, he stole money? My friend is connected to organized crime, and he had apparently embezzled money from the organization. The man who kidnapped us said he was going to make him pay for it. It looks like my friend will be killed as punishment, but I can't see any obvious weapon. What do they intend to do? It's something... Wait, what is this? A thick hose extends from one drum can and connects to the drum can where my friend is being held. Could they be pumping concrete in? Oh! Something was pumped through the hose one after another. I heard a blop blop sound. It wasn't the sound of flowing concrete. What is filling the inside of the drum can? Oh, this crabs. Oh, it's a crab. Can they actually kill you? I guess from shock, maybe. An overwhelming number of small crabs were being poured into the drum can, and these crabs were entering through every orifice. My friend's mouth, nose, every opening. After a violent scream, my friend stopped moving. I understood that I was going to be killed the same way. I came to stay at a friend's house who was into the occult. They wanted to try summoning a certain spirit. Bad idea. So I agreed to take part in the ritual. According to my friend, the timing was perfect. What are the conditions to summon the spirit? Probably midnight. At exactly midnight, you stand before a mirror and chant a certain phrase 3 times, and the spirit will appear. It's always 3 times. We had been half joking, testing her nerve, but then the atmosphere of the room changed. What seems wrong? This. The spirit appeared in the mirror. Long hair, blood-soaked clothing, staring at us with an eerie smile. That spirit is apparently called Bloody Mary. Summoning her is said to bring something bad. Where is the damage showing? It hurts! It hurts! My friend screamed, clutching both eyes. She had both eyes dissolved away by Bloody Mary. Something bad befalls everyone who summons her, which means the next one to suffer is... us. Always us. I realized it was my turn next, but fear had locked up my legs and I couldn't run. Bloody Mary reached out from within the mirror and grabbed my arm. With terrifying force, I was dragged inside the mirror. On my way home from school, someone called out to me, "Am I beautiful? The speaker must be this person." It's a Somali woman. She dressed boldly in red, stylish, I thought. Without giving it much consideration, I looked at the woman and answered, "Yes, you're beautiful." The woman then said, "Even like this?" and removed the mask she had been wearing. What appeared from beneath it? A face with a mouth split open all the way to her ears. Startled, I blurted out, "No, you're not beautiful," right to her face. Hearing my answer, the woman's eyes flew up in a fury and she came at me. Instinctively, I knew this woman would kill me. This made it obvious. She pulled out scissors she had been hiding in her pocket and began chasing me to kill me. I forced my terror-frozen legs to move and ran desperately. She has to be the Kuchisake-onna. She was almost about to catch me. I had braced for death when I heard the woman scream from behind. What startled me? An old man from the neighborhood hurled hard candy at her. According to him, the Kuchisake-onna's attack had been constant in this area for years, so he always carried candy for protection. If that man hadn't saved me, I would probably have been killed by now. I stopped at a convenience store on the way home and 2 boys approached me. We came to watch a movie but forgot our money. Would you mind lending us some? Midway through, I sensed something was off about one of them. What was it? The eyes of the boy who had spoken to me were black, as though they had been filled with black paint. Creeped out, I refused the boy's request. They had suddenly started shouting. In a panic, what should I do to protect myself from them? I would say take off in the car, but you got a flat tire. I rolled up the car window I had open to talk to them. Immediately after, the boys started slamming the window with a bat. The boys were thrashing around and shouting, "Open up!" I tried to drive away immediately, but for some reason the car wouldn't move. Why? Let's see. One of the rear tires had been punctured before I realized. Probably one of the boys did it. In this worst possible situation, I realized they were not human. I figured it out because I saw that. No reflection? Oh yeah, there's no reflection. My car was reflected in the glass window, but the boys who should have been there right in front of me were not reflected in it at all. There's no way they wouldn't show up in a mirror. What are they? After a while, the boys seemed to give up and disappeared somewhere. Maybe they were the ghosts of people who died with some lingering attachment to this world. I came with my family to my uncle's mountain villa. I used a tool to get a better view of the scenery. Which tool? A telescope on the veranda. I used it to look at a distant scenery and searched for birds, enjoying the view. While absorbed in looking at the scenery, I spotted something moving. What did I see? It was a deformed figure with a single eye. The moment our eyes met, I screamed. I couldn't stop crying and was overcome by an abnormal, overwhelming desire to die, a severe depression-like state. My uncle noticed my distress and came rushing over. What happened? When I said, "A monster," he seemed to understand immediately and handed me something, telling me it would calm me down if I wore it. What did he hand me? Oh yeah, it's gotta be sunglasses, so you can't see it? He told me to put on these sunglasses and look through the telescope again. Nervously, I put them on and peered through, and while the same indescribable terror hit me again, it wasn't exactly the same as before. When I asked my uncle what it was, he said, "I don't know. But once it has its eyes on you, it follows you wherever you go. It's like a curse made manifest." I learned that the disturbing creature is known as the Evil Eye. Once it fixes its gaze on you, it will pursue you to the end of the earth. My uncle said something is effective against Joshi and brought something out. What did my uncle prepare? This yellow liquid is apparently Uncle's urine. When I asked why something like this would work, he said, "The Evil Eye hates impure things. Apparently you have to confront it or it will chase you forever, and the plan if it fails is to escape by car." I was given this plan with absolutely no backup strategy, and I was left wondering whether I would survive. At a certain bar, I noticed something that caught my eye. Was this some kind of modern art? The chair? A chair was hung on the wall. Quite an unusual display. Still, the master of this bar certainly had strange taste and hobbies. The master noticed my interest in the chair and told me, "That chair is cursed." "Cursed?" I scoffed. But then he added, "There was a man who died the day after sitting in that chair." From his expression, I could tell he was talking about someone he knew personally. A pilot had died in a plane crash. He was a regular at this bar, and he apparently been given the same warning by the master. But he didn't believe the story, and half as a joke, he sat in the chair. He never came home after that. If the curse is real, why leave something so dangerous out where anyone could see it? I was wondering this when I spotted something that filled me with a sense of dread about the master himself. These men are known criminals, and they were recently found dead deep in the mountains. Why is there a photo here? And those X marks over their faces, could the master have been using that chair to kill them? My buzz well and truly gone, I left the bar. The next day, the news reported that the master has been arrested on suspicion of murder. It turned out a police officer had happened to be among the customers with me, and like me had found the photo suspicious. But that alone wouldn't be enough for a murder charge. Someone had actually died in the bar that night. The one who had died was most likely... Is he dead? The man slumped over the bar counter. He had apparently also been a target, probably killed before I even arrived. There was no obvious external injuries on the body and no poison detected, only a large amount of sleeping pills. I immediately realized the master had used the chair to kill him. The police officer had checked the motionless man's pulse, found he was dead, and the master's behavior led to the arrest. My grandfather told me to go find a crow. He wouldn't explain further, but apparently there is a crow that pecks at humans, and I was told to kill it on sight. I immediately knew which one it was. There was a crow building a jet black nest. Nearby was a hanged corpse, with the back of its scalp bare. That must be a nest made of human hair. Suddenly, the putrid smell hanging in the air grew much stronger. What was the cause? Creature? Something black was approaching from deep in the woods. As it drew closer, the stench of decay grew overwhelming. What on earth is that? Sensing danger, I hid behind a tree. The black thing moved slowly. That creature harms humans. It was immediately obvious from what I saw. A corpse riddled with holes was lying near the black thing. It was probably that creature's doing. I need to get out of here now. The black thing noticed my presence and came rushing toward me at a terrifying speed. Is there anything I can use against it? Fortunately, there was a car nearby with a gas leak. I quickly moved toward it, and the moment the black thing got close to the car, I ignited the leaking gasoline with a lighter I had with me. It seemed to work. The creature made a sound like air escaping from a balloon and shrank away. If I had been caught by it, I shuddered to think what would have happened. Terror made my whole body tremble. I came to the forest at night to find something. If the rumor is true, my escort should be arriving for me soon. Is he your escort? Silently, he appeared from the depths of the forest. An extremely tall figure with a smooth, featureless white face. It's real. He isn't a fictional being. He abducts children, but if you do a certain thing, he will take a liking to you and make you one of his servants. That is why I prepared this. I lured my best friend out by telling them I had something important to talk about and killed them here. Oh my god. I was completely serious. I had killed a person for the first time in hopes of winning its favor. In my excitement at finally meeting him, I committed the one act that must never be done. Looking at him from close range will drive you to madness. I frantically averted my gaze downward. No matter how long I waited, he made no move to make me his servant. I had even killed my best friend for his sake. Was there nothing else I could do to win his favor? I reached for my phone to look up what more I could do to gain his favor. And I remembered I had never read all the way to the end of the website that had first introduced me to him. On a whim, I scrolled to the bottom and found that he was actually a fictional character created on the internet. I looked up. The figure who had been there for a moment ago was gone. It seems I had at some point lost the ability to distinguish between urban legend and reality. I came to an abandoned house known as a paranormal hotspot. Intending to surprise my friend had fallen asleep in the car on the way, so I piggyback carried them in by force. At the back of the abandoned house, I found a small well, and from somewhere I heard a faint metallic scraping sound, gradually getting closer. Where was the sound coming from? Before I knew it, a pale, smoke-like human silhouette shape was standing right in front of me when its back turned. The metallic sound seemed to be coming from around there. I noticed something and realized the smoke was protecting us from something invisible. Looking carefully, there were footprints. Something was there that we couldn't see, making the metallic sounds. The white smoke seemed to clash with it. The metallic sound grew more intense. There is something here who understands what the white shadow is. Who? She is someone who can see, so she must understand the true nature of that smoke. According to her, someone among us is being protected. Therefore, she said, never let your body move away from that person. Who is the one being protected? Probably the one sleeping? It seems something has always been attached to my friend. Not a guardian spirit, more like an evil spirit that lives inside my friend. That spirit won't allow its host to be destroyed, so it drives off other spirits. In other words, we were only saved because we happened to be near my friend. If I had let my friend in the car, that thought made me shudder. And that's it. That's all 60 urban legends. That was a lot of fun reading them. Some of them I heard before, I'm familiar with, but there's a lot of really disturbing ones. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next video. Until then, hide under a blanket, make sure nothing is under your bed. Stay cozy.